Bronco boys and girls, track bar is giving you the blues. In this video, we're gonna fix that with help from our friends at Rock Krawler. Let's go take a look.
Hey everybody, it's Bo with X's 4x4 and we build badass 4x4s.
Since day one of owning this Bronco, it has been very evident and apparent that there's something going on in the rear end of this thing that I didn't like. And I'm used to driving Jeeps. You know, I can deal with some things, but it was really weird on this thing. It was almost like the rear end was throwing me around whenever I drive it.
Ooh, should be sways in there. A little sway.
And it just got something we got used to, but it was definitely a problem just on highway driving, not really so much off-road. Unless we were like in Baja mode, we were going really fast off-road or something like that, I could totally feel it then. Well, this year out at Trail Hero 2023, I met up with Jeremy Puritt from Rock Krawler.
That doesn't look too impressive to me.
And he was showing off a new part that he had developed and put on his Bronco. And after we had done a little bit of programming on his Bronco, we jumped in it and I took a test drive in it and I knew right away I had to have it. And Jeremy said, no problem, I'll send you some parts. I'll send you the file, you make your own trust for it. But anyways, what he did was he developed the Rock Krawler Pro-X rear triangulated upper control arm system, just like he did on the Jeep Gladiator. And it made more of a difference on the Bronco than it did on the Gladiator. I mean, the Gladiator was good, but this is completely eliminated all that rear steer feeling that you would get when you're driving a Bronco. And I know for a lot of you out there that have lifted your Broncos, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we're gonna jump in and I'll show you in the video what the guys did during the install, including myself.
All right, before we install the Rock Krawler Pro-X suspension, we're going to talk about what's going on back here and why we want to install the Rock Krawler Pro-X suspension. So right now what we have right here is a traditional 5-link suspension. So you have 4 control arms, 2 upper, 2 lowers, and then your track bar. What your track bar actually does is keep the axle centered underneath the vehicle at ride height. So as you're driving down the road,
Let's say you're driving along the road.
this track bar is adjusted at ride height to keep the axle completely centered. Otherwise, if this was not here, your axle would be going back and forth. So there's nothing really to keep them sitting centered underneath the vehicle. That's where the track bar comes in. So after we set the vehicle down, after any lift install, an adjustable track bar like this, as you can see the adjustment right here. Once we get the vehicle set at ride height, then we would adjust this track bar from side to side to get it centered underneath the vehicle. The guys at Rock Krawler took their Pro-X kit that they had developed for the Jeep Gladiator and kind of robbed the idea, and they're gonna do the same thing on the Bronco. I've seen it firsthand out at Sand Hollow. I've driven it. It works pretty well. The guys over there hooked us up with a set for the rear. Once the guys get done taking apart the front for the other install that's going on.
Previously on Exodus 4x4.
It's one of the things that we did with the 74 rack and the portals. Between those two right there, we have built an amazing off-road machine. They're gonna move to the back and they're going to remove all the suspension and the rear axle so that we can cut the upper control arm brackets off, weld in the new truss, and install the Pro-X arms. What the Pro-X arms are gonna do is eliminate the need for the track bar. And the way they're gonna do that is through what we call triangulation. So now instead of those upper control arms running like this, they're gonna turn in like this. And both sides, this arm pushing in and this one pushing in, are going to keep the axle centered at ride height and all the way through articulation. And if everything works well and we really like this, we may even commit later on to removing this big, nasty track bar that's up here on the frame. As you can see, it's big and bulky. Ford did a pretty good job of beefing everything up on these as far as brackets go. They use some big hardware. It's not like this stuff is any kind of liability. It's been holding up very well, but it definitely will handle better once we're done with it. So let's get out of the way, let the techs go to work and do their job. All right, guys, now that Jesse's got the rear of the Bronco cleared out, I'm ready to start welding this truss on. As you can see, Jesse's already cut off the upper control arm brackets and made way for the new Rock Krawler truss that's gonna go in. It has not been painted or badged yet. That's because I'm waiting for the welds to cool down when I'm done later. And then I'll hit it with Steel It. I'll get this completely coated. And then by the time that's done getting dried, Jesse should be done installing the portals on the front of the Bronco. So pretty soon we're gonna have a triangulated rear axle with portal axles on it. And with the front being IFS and the rear being triangulated, that means all our wheel movement now is going to be completely vertical. There will be no pendulum swings from any track bars whatsoever on this vehicle. I'm pretty excited to see how this turns out. It all makes sense, right? The geometry adds up whenever we start looking into how this works. And it's crazy. Jeremy did a great job figuring all that out. So I'm looking forward to how this is going to ride. Like I said, I'm going to let Jesse start assembling the portals on the front of the Bronco. I'm going to get to welding this out. And in a little bit, I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's done. Installation of the Pro-X kit is complete now. You can see that both upper control arm mounts have been removed. The Rock Krawler truss has been installed. All the brake lines, everything has been assembled. We've had it on the alignment rack. We've made all our adjustments, so everything's dialed in. And the only thing really left to do now is to go test it off-road and see how it actually performs. We do still have the track bar bracket remaining on the frame. I'm not sure if or when we'll ever take that off, but from what I could tell just from test driving the other one before this, it's probably gonna come off at some point. I guess the only thing left to do is to take it out on the trails and see how well it performs. We could take it down right now, do a little forklift test and see how it flexes in the back with the forklift. But other than that, I'm really excited to try this out and hopefully mitigate some of that rear steer feeling I get from it just when I'm driving on the highway. So we're gonna drop this back down, pick it up with a forklift and see what it looks like. All right, guys, a little flex test here in the parking lot. Everything looks good. Our clearances are there. We're not rubbing anything. It doesn't look like anything's hitting when it gets stuffed up in there. So we're gonna call it good. Only thing left to do is take it out on the trails and see how well it performs there. Let's squeeze in right here. I'm gonna take the camera away and I'm gonna get up in here and I'm gonna point out to you exactly what I'm talking about. As you can see, here is the Rock Krawler Pro-X truss. It is a lot different than what you would find on a Jeep Gladiator. This one is going to weld in completely. So you're gonna have to actually cut your upper control arm mounts off. Those are totally gone now on the Bronco, whereas on the Gladiator, they stayed there. So we cut the upper control arm mounts off, welded the Rock Krawler Pro-X truss in, and installed the triangulated arms, which you can see right here. Once we got the truss welded on, we got the arms bolted in, we took it out on the road, and immediately, we could tell that something was drastically different. It was actually fun to drive again. Like I didn't have that feeling in the back that the ass end of the Bronco was throwing me around all over the place. This is something that you guys absolutely are gonna want to put on your Bronco. I promise you, especially if you guys lifted it, it's going to make a huge difference. I can't wait to get your feedback on it. So we're gonna jump back in the Bronco, do a little bit more off-roading, and I'll see you guys at the end. We're gonna wrap this one up, guys. For more information on off-roading and videos and other cool stuff, click right here.